You're listening to News and Notes from the Wall Street Journal.
We're speaking with Wall Street Journal reporter Reed Epstein in Washington. He's got a story about how Kroger, the grocery store chain, is now a target of gun control advocates. How so? What's happening, Reed?
Well, Gordon, Moms Demand Action, it's one of the bigger gun control groups. It's funded by Mike Bloomberg, the former New York City mayor. They are launching a campaign to try to pressure the Kroger chain to forbid the open carry of guns in their stores. And now this isn't necessarily people carrying concealed weapons, but people with sort of the long rifles that you've seen some demonstrators tote through stores and coffee shops across the country in their efforts to try to normalize that type of gun behavior.
All right, so if they will launch this campaign, how? What's it going to involve?
It's heavy on social media presence. You're going to see a lot of tweets and Facebook postings to try to push Kroger. You're going to see some demonstrations called stroller jams, where they have a few dozen moms pushing their kids outside of Kroger supermarkets with their signs. And this is going to happen all over the country. The Kroger chain operates some 24 supermarket labels. So Harris Teeter in the Southeast, Fred Meyer in the Northwest, Fry's in Texas in the Midwest, are all under the Kroger umbrella, and they're going to try to wrap this in, much like the protest they did earlier this summer at Target outlets, where they ultimately got Target to ask its customers to not bring guns into their outlets.
Right. All right. So do these campaigns, generally speaking, work?
Well, it depends on what the definition of work is. They were able to win some PR victories, superficial victories out of Starbucks and Target when those companies asked their customers not to bring guns in. But if you look up 6 weeks after Target's announcement, they haven't put up any signs in their stores. They haven't, technically disallowed guns in their outlets. They just asked people not to bring them. But a Target official told me last week that if someone is coming into the store with a gun and not threatening anyone with it, they're not going to ask them to leave.
We're speaking with Wall Street Journal reporter Reed Epstein about Kroger, the supermarket chain, now becoming a target of gun control advocates. So the campaign you mentioned, social media, maybe some demonstrations, things like that. Do they go as far as, say, TV spots or other ads, things like that?
They were ready to air. They had prepared TV ads in the Target campaign that they were going to air in Minnesota, where Target's corporate headquarters are, but they never actually went on the air. And that's something that is sort of in the quiver for these groups. Mike Bloomberg has said he's going to spend $50 million on gun control efforts this year. The expectation is that most of that will come in political campaigns, but it's not out of the question that some of it could come with regards to the Kroger effort. Kroger's headquartered in Cincinnati, so you could see some advertising there. But they're also they're in markets all across the country, so they certainly could go up with television ads.
Okay. Any response yet from Kroger?
Kroger said it abides by state and local laws and that it trusts its customers to treat each other and its employees with respect. So far, this is sort of less than 24 hours old. We haven't seen anything else from the Kroger people, but we'll have to see. It took Moms Demand Action about 5 weeks before Target acceded to their demands. It took them a few months on the Starbucks effort, so we'll see how long this lasts with Kroger.
All right, and then what do gun rights supporters do here? Do they try to counter it in some way or make their own statement?
They're in a bit of a tricky situation, especially the open carry people, because if they show up in Kroger's with their rifles that can be seen as scary to some people, that's in part playing into the hands of the Bloomberg Moms people, because they're trying to get images on in local news and in local papers, places across the country of sort of some of these gun demonstrations, and the open carry people know that, and so they're trying to keep away from this Kroger campaign as much as possible.
It's funny. The gun laws are so strict in New Jersey, where I am, that if I saw somebody with a rifle in a grocery store, my assumption would be that there was some sort of emergency developing. There was a hostage crisis of some kind.
Yeah, and it's it really shows some of the cultural differences in the country because, like you said, if you saw somebody with a long gun in a Washington D.C. supermarket or in New York, you'd probably think it was a SWAT team effort was going on. But in Texas and across the South, some of these things are not necessarily so unusual.
You've been listening to News and Notes from the Wall Street Journal.